Hello, I'm Dick.
And I'm Eric, and we're the Annuity guys.
Eric, we've got a big, strong headline here about eliminating retirement failure. But really, there's really nothing that is going to completely eliminate retirement failure. But there are some things that can truly reduce it.
Right, and when we talk about annuities, especially when you're thinking about retirement, the key things that usually come right into play are the worries about running out of money.
Right.
And the one thing we know an annuity does extremely well is help people prevent, basically, running out of money. Longevity risk.
Exactly. That income will continue on, that if you've actually used a portion of your principal or even all of your principal, that the annuity company is obligated to keep paying you that income.
Right. So as people retire, you never know what kind of economic conditions you're going to retire into.
Right.
You don't know what kind of pitfalls or potential, disasters are lurking around. I'm a big fan of talking about sequence of return risk.
Right.
And that's not knowing the type of economic environment you're retiring into. We've kind of seen the studies out there that the kind of the 5 years right before retirement and the 5 years right after retirement are the biggest potential pitfalls for somebody as they're retiring.
Well, and I just say everybody's heard of dollar cost averaging.
Well, this is reverse dollar cost averaging.
Right. Putting your market in, at different
pulling
sequences.
Out, yes.
But now we're talking about pulling it out and doing what we would call a reverse dollar cost averaging.
Yeah, you're more likely to be basically pulling dollars out for your income need when the market is down, so you're actually going through your dollars more quickly.
Right.
So one of the things an annuity can do is basically help you avoid some of those pitfalls in pulling dollars out at the wrong time, and that's really that sequence of return risk.
Exactly. The annuity really levels things out in terms of the volatility, of a portfolio, and as we've talked, many times, folks, Eric and I really don't believe that it's in your best interest to put, all of your money into annuities. So you really want to sit down and figure out what your income need is.
Right.
Or what your safe money need is.
And it's a great way of thinking of it. And the funny thing is, people typically, the more dollars you have, you think your potential risk of running out of money is a little bit less. And we talk about, if you had $10 and you had a 25% loss, well, you lost $2.50.
Yeah, it doesn't seem...
You might not feel as bad as if you had $1 million and you lost 25%.
$250,000 is gone.
Whoa,
yeah.
that one might hurt.
Take that.
Yeah, and so depending on your lifestyle and what you're needing to meet that, and how much additional foundational income you really need, really that's where annuities come into play to help kind of smooth out those spending cycles.
Well, Eric, one of the things that I know you have, on your own website, is a sequence of returns calculator. And why don't you talk a little bit about what you see when you run that, and then invite folks to use that?
Well, and it's really trying to help people understand how a fixed or a fixed indexed annuity might come into play. And it's really shows kind of as you look at some of the market participation and how when you start pulling dollars out, the volatility of the market can have a bigger negative impact if you have negative sequence of returns earlier on. A fixed index, and this is not even an income rider guarantee, but it's meant to say, if you have an indexed annuity that has the ability to give you a zero return in a down market, the only people taking dollars out of your portfolio is you. You're taking the withdrawals.
Right.
The market's not taking any money away from you. And that's really what it's meant to kind of illustrate for you. And I invite people to go out there and play with it and generate their own reports. But I think it becomes very impactful because, as we kind of just mentioned, you don't know what the future is going to bring. We don't have a perfect crystal ball. But we all know we want to avoid that 2008, 2001 type of scenario where you have a prolonged downturn that can really eat apart your portfolio as you retire.
Right. Eric, I think what's really cool, and you can put a link on the post this week, and so folks can go to it. What I think is so cool about your calculator is that you can just enter different numbers and dates, times, put those things into the calculator.
Yeah, it gives them random returns, really based. So it just kind of, because that's what we don't know what's going to happen. It's like just kind of randomizes some returns and looks at a safe withdrawal rate.
And one of the examples that I used to use quite a bit, prior to the calculator that you've got, was to really look at back in 1975 if you would have started right around that time period, if you started your income on an annuity, say you started out with $500,000.
So you got $500,000.
Yeah, and you're going to take about a 5% withdrawal rate, which is very typical of what a lot of annuities do.
So you take a supplement to Social Security. It's probably meeting your income need.
Right, and so you take out this 5% out of your portfolio. If you started in 1976, 30 years later, by 2005, prior to our recent financial crisis, you'd have over $3 million.
So your portfolio, you took out money. You were taking money out.
You took 5% out every year.
And this is the S&P 500.
And you started with 500,000. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Gauged against what the S&P 500 would have done. And so you took 5% out every year. You'd have at the end of 30 years
$3 million.
$3 million.
So you took your income and got exponential growth.
Exactly. So I mean, it sounds great. But let's just...
There's always the but, isn't there? This is where the but.
And this is where, when you start looking at sequence of returns, this is how severe and serious it can be. So let's say that instead of starting your income in 1976, you started it in 1973. Well, in 1973...
3 years difference.
Only 3 years difference. You were out of money at 1991, so about 17 years later, you were broke.
And what happened is you had negative returns right off the bat.
Exactly.
And that's where that biggest impact can happen.
And so even though during those years you really had a rate of return of around 7% because you lost so much in the early years, and that's what's so hard for folks to understand is, and this is where the annuity comes in, and it basically insulates folks from that type of risk.
Yeah, and we should probably talk about the different types of annuities that can really be utilized within the structure.
Right.
I mean, we're all kind of aware of probably that old time. Grandpa's annuities, the SPIA, the single premium immediate annuity, which now has kind of a new twist also, and I call it the DIA, the deferred income annuity, where you really are basically giving the insurance company a lump sum of dollars in exchange for either income immediately or, in the DIA's case, income in the future, where you can structure it to start at a certain point in time. But the key there is really you're kind of giving up control. You're giving the dollars to the annuity company for the highest typical payouts.
Exactly. You're pooling yourself with a bunch of individuals that are all giving their money to an insurance company, and some live longer and some live less. And
the insurance company knows where that middle point is.
You're in the lucky gene pool. You make more than the other guy. So you also are alive.
And so,
but
as I said, the other types of annuities that are commonly utilized to kind of supplement income are usually the variable annuities with income rider guarantees, or fixed indexed annuities with the income rider. Very similar in the income rider design. Variable annuities are obviously designed to give you more market participation, a little bit more fee construction usually.
Fee-oriented, yes.
And then the fixed index annuities, again, a little bit of a fee typically on that side, but more principal protection versus the market protection.
Well, and this is where we tend to favor the fixed indexed annuity because it does give the principal protection. And then when we go competitively up against variable annuities, when it's about income, the fixed indexed annuity is very competitive, and in almost most cases we run, they're superior.
Yeah, what we're finding out is, especially if you're leaving something in deferral, the ratchet and guaranteed side, usually on the fixed side, is a little bit stronger than what you're going to find on the same ratchets and roll-ups on the variable side. But there are other types of annuities out there that you could actually use for outside of income. There's some growth options out there that we haven't even talked about at all.
Absolutely. And I think that's another thing that so many folks want to look at. They want some portion of their portfolio to be safe. And everyone's got a different idea of how much that should be. So it is individual in that sense, but whether it's 10% or 50% or 75%, folks just want to know that this money can grow. They're not necessarily interested in the real high growth with the risk, but they just want some reasonable level of growth and know that they're not going to go backwards.
Yeah, you're typically looking for something that can do better than the bank instruments out there.
Exactly.
And so when you look at what's available in the annuity world, You've got these MIGAs, the multi-year guaranteed annuities, which
Yes.
pay the same rate each year for the set number of years. So,
Right.
you know, a 5-year MIGA can pay a 5-year rate of, 3% each year, for example, for over 5 years. So you get the same
Right.
rate each year.
Right.
And then, of course, you've got the opportunity also to use indexed annuities for growth. You get a portion of the index
Right.
without necessarily having to go backwards.
Well, and you don't have to pay any rider costs or anything of that nature.
And that's the one thing I
Yes.
think a lot of people don't understand. If you're looking at an annuity for growth, there's no reason to add the income rider. You know, the income
Yes.
rider is for income. You're paying a fee for that benefit.
Right.
But if you're looking for something that's just trying to safeguard your principal, and you can use it for income, you can take
Sure.
withdrawals,
Sure.
but not then pay the fee
Right.
then to get the other benefit of an
Right.
indexed annuity with an income rider, where if you do run out of money, they continue to pay you. You can use it for defense just to prevent any kind of loss from market participation.
Right. Well, Eric, it's really all about planning, because a lot of folks have to have what I would call Plan B.
Yeah.
You know, most people have that Plan A, where they know that if everything goes well and, you know, they both live a long life and have social securities and pensions all maxed out, they're going to be fine. But they really need that Plan B, and that's what annuities can really help them with.
Well, exactly. I mean, we all plan for that retirement journey.
Yes.
You know, we get the roadmap out, we've got the basic plan in place, and we have a general idea of where things are going to go. But like any good travel, any good destination, you know there's
Yes.
going to have to be detours and things that are going
Right.
to deviate the plan, that unexpected things that happen. And so what's nice with annuities when we come back to the retirement is we build in the foundational protection.
Yes.
You protect from a good plan, you'll have the basics protected, that foundation. So nobody's going to get in below this level.
Right.
You've got that part
Right.
protected. So whatever happens up here above and beyond, we've got some flexibility.
Not only do you reduce the aspect of retirement failure, but you also can go into retirement when you plan properly and not feel guilty about the money you spend.
Well, and that's, you know what, that's a great way. I've had some clients just recently say, you know what, for me, it's not about having the most savings. It's I want to be able to enjoy retirement, and it's a lot easier to spend the money knowing that the check next month is going to keep coming.
Right,
if you
right.
just know I can spend everything I got this month because next month they send me another check.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about running out. And for a lot of people, that relieves a psychological burden of retirement of
Right.
saying, can I spend this much? Because 20 years from now, I may need that last dollar that I wanted to spend today.
Exactly. So a properly designed portfolio is going to have growth in that portfolio. It's going to have income in that portfolio, and you're going to know what you can spend, and you don't have to worry about it.